The fastest cars are nothing without the engines that drive them. Some engines didn't just win races, they changed the game entirely, shaping both the track and the cars we drive today. These 13 engines made history and set the bar for speed, power, and innovation. Number 13, Porsche 917/30 Can-Am Flat 12. When you talk about engines that made racing feel like science fiction, the Porsche 917/30 Flat 12 turbocharged engine is the one that instantly grabs attention. It was not a normal motor. It was a thunder-making powerhouse that could push a race car to speeds beyond 220 miles per hour, which was faster than most airplanes taking off at that time. Imagine hearing 12 cylinders working together like an angry orchestra, only the music was pure horsepower. What made this engine so special was not just how much power it made, but how clever the engineers were in squeezing so much energy from it. The engine started as a normal flat 12 design, basically two 6-cylinder engines laid flat together, but then Porsche added turbocharging. That was a new and risky idea back then because turbos could be unpredictable. Yet this engine had 2 turbochargers that turned it into a fire-breathing machine. In normal race trim, it produced over 1,100 horsepower, and in qualifying it could be tuned to nearly 1,600 horsepower. That was so much power that drivers joked it could melt the tires before the green light even came on. The magic did not stop with power alone. Reliability was another surprise, because most engines with this kind of wild output would blow apart after just a few laps. But the Porsche Flat 12 could run at nearly 8,000 revolutions per minute for hours without giving up. It was air-cooled, which seems old-fashioned today, but it stayed alive and healthy through entire races. Engineers back then had no computers to help, just pencils, paper, and a lot of brain power. Yet they built something that felt decades ahead of its time. Speed records proved how unmatched it was. In a special test at Talladega, the car powered by this engine reached an average speed of over 221 miles per hour, and that record stood for more than a decade. Other engines could not even dream of such numbers, because none could make so much thrust with so little weight. With the car weighing around 1,800 pounds, the acceleration from 0 to 60 miles per hour happened in just over 2 seconds. That was rocket-like speed for a car rolling on tires. What is even more wild is how this engine forced racing rules to change. In European endurance races, it won so much that officials banned it by changing engine size rules. When it came to the Can-Am series, it dominated every event, leaving competitors frustrated and even quitting. The rule makers then cut fuel limits just to stop it. When an engine is so good that it shuts down entire championships, you know it was something truly untouchable. Number 12, Miller Offenhauser Inline 4. The Miller Offenhauser Inline 4 ruled the racetrack for decades and is impossible to ignore. This engine was not just fast, it was lightning wrapped in metal, capable of pushing race cars to speeds over 145 miles per hour back in the 1930s. Imagine 4 cylinders dancing in perfect rhythm, each one punching above its weight to deliver power that could embarrass engines twice its size. Racers relied on it because it combined incredible power with astonishing reliability, a rare combo even today. The cleverness of this engine started with its monoblock design, which means the block and head were one piece. That made it super tough, removing weak spots that could fail under the stress of high-speed racing. Add to that a twin-cam setup with 4 valves per cylinder, and suddenly you had an engine that could breathe like a champion athlete, revving up to 6,600 revolutions per minute in naturally aspirated form. The standard version produced 420 horsepower from just 251 cubic inches, which is like squeezing a rocket into a soda can. Later, turbocharged versions pushed power past 1,000 horsepower with only 168 cubic inches, creating acceleration that could make a roller coaster feel lazy. Moving to its record-breaking streak, this engine was unstoppable at the Indianapolis 500. From 1947 through 1964, every winning car used it, and between 1950 and 1960, it locked out every step of the podium. That kind of domination is almost unheard of in motorsport, showing how perfectly engineered this 4-cylinder was. Even in midget and sprint car racing, it remained king, proving that versatility could be just as important as raw speed. One of the most remarkable things about this engine was how well it handled rule changes and challenges from newer competitors. When turbocharging became legal and methanol fuel rules were introduced, it adapted instantly. Forced induction turbo engines could reliably produce 750 horsepower and more, while still keeping the engine alive through grueling races. Its compact size and clever construction allowed racers to push it hard without fear of gasket failures or blown heads, a problem that ruined lesser engines. Finally, the Miller Offenhauser Inline 4 was a master of speed and consistency, and it could maintain top speeds above 145 miles per hour on ovals and road courses alike. Number 11. Mazda R26B. When an engine spins like a tornado and refuses to quit, you know it is something special. The Mazda R26B 4-rotor engine is one of those marvels that shook endurance racing to its core. It was not just an engine, it was a symphony of moving parts, producing 700 horsepower while spinning up to 9,000 revolutions per minute. This rotary design ran smoother and lighter than most piston engines, allowing the car to reach astonishing speeds, keeping up a furious pace around Le Mans for hours without breaking a sweat. The genius of this engine came from how it breathed. Unlike normal engines, the R26B used peripheral intake ports on each rotor, letting air and fuel rush in much faster. On top of that, it had variable intake runners that adjusted automatically to engine speed, giving it the perfect airflow, no matter if it was crawling through a corner or screaming down the straight. Each rotor also had 3 spark plugs instead of 2, ensuring the fuel burned evenly every single time. This meant maximum efficiency and fewer chances for misfires, which is exactly what endurance racing demands. Its power-to-size ratio was remarkable. With only 158 cubic inch spread across 4 rotors, it made 700 horsepower reliably, and it could hit 9,000 revolutions per minute without falling apart. The engine was detuned from its absolute peak of 900 horsepower to keep it alive for a 24-hour race, proving that speed is only useful if the engine can last. This combination of lightweight design, high revolution per minute capability, and careful engineering made it faster around corners and straights than heavier, more traditional engines with more cylinders. Durability was the secret weapon. While rivals' engines suffered from failures or needed constant pit stops, the R26B could keep going lap after lap, almost mocking the puny attempts of others to match its pace. At Le Mans, this meant outlasting the competition and maintaining speed when others faltered. Its endurance allowed the car to climb from 19th on the starting grid to the top of the podium, proving that consistent, reliable power often beats raw but fragile horsepower. Every part of the R26B was designed for balance between speed and efficiency. Peripheral intake ports, variable geometry intakes, and triple spark plugs per rotor all worked together to make an engine that was light, fast, and unrelenting. It could cruise at over 200 miles per hour while still sipping fuel carefully, a feat most engines could only dream of. Number 10. Chevrolet Mighty Mouse Small Block. Power can come in small packages, and the Chevrolet Mighty Mouse Small Block proves it in every rev. This compact V8 engine transformed American racing with its clever design, high speed, and unstoppable energy. With only 265 cubic inches at first, it packed a punch of 195 horsepower in the Corvette, showing the world that tiny engines could roar louder than many bigger competitors. By 1962, the upgraded 327 cubic inch version really came into its own, delivering 365 horsepower when tuned for speed and reaching top revs that made it a thrill on the track. What made this engine so special was how smart it was. Its small size meant cars stayed light, but it still delivered incredible power, almost like a tiny mouse, carrying a 100-pound load with ease. The 4-inch bore and 3.25-inch stroke in the 327 gave perfect balance, letting racers push their cars hard without worrying about engine failure. Drag racers, weekend speed lovers, and even everyday drivers loved it because it could pull hard, accelerate fast, and still keep running lap after lap. The compact design meant more weight could stay in the tires and chassis, making corners faster and straights even quicker. Now transitioning from design to achievements, the Mighty Mouse earned respect on tracks big and small. Its first wins came in 1955, right after its debut, helping Chevrolet dominate NASCAR and many local racing events. While the big engines often stole the spotlight, the small block quietly outperformed expectations. Reliability was its secret weapon, allowing cars to finish races without constant pit stops. Versatility was another reason it stood out. Beyond muscle cars, the Mighty Mouse powered Bel Airs, Novas, C10 trucks, and even wagons, spreading its power across every type of Chevrolet vehicle. It became a legend in the 60s, proving that you didn't need a massive engine to race fast and win often. Its DNA continues in modern LS and LT engines, carrying forward the balance, lightweight design, and impressive horsepower that made the original small block so mighty. Even with its small size, the Mighty Mouse small block earned its place in racing history by showing the world that compact engines could deliver enormous fun and speed, while keeping drivers grinning from the start line to the checkered flag. Number 9. GMLS V8. GMLS V8 is a clever evolution of the famous small block, redesigned to be lighter, stronger, and faster, while keeping all the fun that racers crave. With its aluminum heads and lightweight blocks, the LS can push cars to extreme speeds without carrying extra weight, letting drivers blast from 0 to 60 miles per hour in heart-pounding moments. Even more impressively, many stock LS engines crank out hundreds of horsepower right from the factory, but with just a few tweaks, they can unleash even more power than most street engines dare to dream. Shifting from speed to durability, the LS is built to survive. Its pushrod design keeps the engine compact while cutting down on moving parts, which means less can go wrong at high RPMs. Powder-forged connecting rods and hyper-eutectic pistons make sure it can take extreme stress and heat without folding under pressure. The deep engine skirt adds rigidity, while 6-bolt main bearings hold everything firmly in place, giving racers confidence that the engine will last through brutal drag strips or twisty road courses. This is the kind of engineering that lets cars roar lap after lap without a hiccup, and it is why builders love swapping LS engines into everything from sports cars to trucks. Speaking of swaps, versatility is where the LS shines even brighter. This engine is found in Corvettes, Camaros, Pontiac GTOs, and even trucks, but it doesn't stop there. Builders from all over the world drop LS engines into Fords, Mazdas, and off-road vehicles, creating extreme horsepower machines with relative ease. The long-runner intake manifolds boost torque at low revs, while evenly spaced valves and redesigned heads optimize airflow for maximum speed. Every part of the LS is designed for performance, whether it is revving past 9,000 revolutions per minute or pushing huge torque numbers down the track. And yet, what makes the LS truly legendary is how it balances all this power with reliability and adaptability. After over 25 years, it still dominates grassroots racing, drifting, and drag events because it can take upgrades, handle stress, and keep running without fuss. Lightweight, compact, and endlessly tunable, the LS V8 delivers thrills on tracks and streets alike. Its combination of speed, toughness, and clever engineering makes it a favorite for anyone who wants big horsepower, smooth performance, and a smile on their face every time the throttle opens. Number 8. Nissan RB26DETT Group A. No doubt raw power meets precision engineering in the Nissan RB26DETT. This twin-turbo inline-six isn't just fast, it is smartly engineered to handle extreme stress while delivering smooth, high-speed performance that makes other engines sweat. From its very first rev, the RB26DETT proves why it became legendary in racing, especially in Group A touring car events, where it could push past 700 horsepower with ease and laugh in the face of competition. Lightweight pistons, reinforced connecting rods, and a specially developed crankshaft make sure the engine responds instantly to every push of the throttle. Moving from brute strength to careful control, the RB26DETT is designed for high-rev fun. Titanium valve retainers, strengthened valve springs, and high-lift camshafts all work together to keep the engine stable at incredibly high revolutions. Even the gaskets and stud bolts were upgraded to make sure no leaks get in the way of performance. The crank damper keeps torsional vibrations in check, while CNC machined combustion chambers reduce knocking, letting the engine sip fuel efficiently even when roaring past 9,000 revolutions per minute. This careful balance of strength and finesse means the RB26DETT can sprint from 0 to 60 miles per hour, like it is playing tag with time itself. But that's not all. The RB26DETT is also built to be endlessly tunable, which is why racers and hobbyists alike love it. Stage 1 upgrades like high-flow exhausts, air intake systems, and piggyback engine computers can add 30 to 50 horsepower, giving daily drivers a fun speed boost without stress. For those seeking more thrill, Stage 2 upgrades such as larger turbochargers, forged pistons, and performance camshafts can push the engine to produce 100 to 200 extra horsepower, transforming the Skyline into a full-on racing machine. Stage 3 builds go even further, turning the RB26DETT into a fire-breathing powerhouse capable of over 500 horsepower, perfect for professional tracks or extreme enthusiasts. Every detail of this engine is engineered for both reliability and insane performance. The high-volume oil pump keeps every moving part lubricated at any RPM, while strengthened cylinder walls and squish-optimized chambers improve combustion efficiency. With its twin turbos and iron block paired to aluminum heads, the RB26DETT balances raw power with durability. Number 7. Mercedes-Benz M125. Power roared through the tracks in the form of the Mercedes-Benz M125, an engine that turned the M125 into a speed machine unlike anything the world had ever seen. This supercharged 341 cubic inch inline 8 pumped out over 580 horsepower, a number that made other cars of the 1930s look like they were jogging while the M125 was sprinting. Also, on the Avis circuit, it reportedly reached 211 miles per hour, while test runs pushed it even higher, proving that speed was its middle name. Continuing with its dominance, the M125 used a carefully designed straight 8 layout with 3.7 inches bore and 4 inches stroke, giving it a total of 341 cubic inches. The dual overhead camshafts worked perfectly with a Roots-type supercharger, forcing fuel into the engine at pressures that made the car leap forward with astonishing acceleration. The fuel was a special mix of 40% methanol, 32% benzene, 24% ethanol, and 4% gasoline, a combination that kept the engine both powerful and responsive. Torque topped at 632 pound-feet, giving it a punchy and immediate delivery that made racing competitors scramble to keep up. Shifting focus to reliability, the M125 was built to survive extreme conditions while maintaining peak performance. The engine weighed just 489 pounds, about 30% of the total car weight, ensuring balance and control at high speeds. Every cylinder and component was engineered to handle the stress of supercharged power, letting the car endure long races without faltering. This durability, combined with the insane horsepower, is what allowed the W125 to win nearly every race in its single season, leaving rivals both frustrated and amazed. The M125 didn't just make numbers on the track, it defined an era, with outputs ranging from 560 to 640 horsepower. At 5,800 revolutions per minute, it was a masterclass in engineering for the time. It gave 245 horsepower at just 2,000 revolutions per minute, making even low-speed handling feel explosive. When new regulations in 1938 limited engine sizes, the M125's dominance was cut short. But the M125's legacy continued, influencing the development of future Grand Prix engines for decades to come. Number 6. BMW M12/13. The BMW M12/13 powered the Formula One stage like a rocket on 4 wheels, a tiny 4-cylinder engine that could make the fastest cars in the world feel like they were standing still. At just 92 cubic inches, this turbocharged engine produced a mind-boggling 1,400 horsepower in qualifying trim, though the dyno only measured up to 1,280 horsepower. Race mode was tamed to around 1,000 horsepower to survive the full distance, but even that was enough to leave rivals choking on its exhaust. This engine was pure speed, raw power, and a little bit of madness, all rolled into a metal miracle. To understand why it was so strong, we have to look at how it was built. The engine had a 3.5 inches bore and a 2.4 inches stroke, giving it an over-square design that loved to spin fast. A turbocharger forced in air like a hurricane, allowing the tiny 4 cylinders to produce more power than most engines twice its size. Bosch electronic fuel injection kept the engine breathing perfectly, while its iron block and aluminum head kept everything sturdy yet light at 3,174 pounds, including turbos and intercoolers. Beyond this, with 11,500 revolutions per minute, it could push out between 740 and 900 horsepower in race trim. But in qualifying, boost levels up to 80 pounds per square inch made it soar past 1,280, flirting with the rumored 1,400 horsepower mark. The magic wasn't just in the numbers, it was in the engineering tricks. Engineers hand-picked blocks from production engines with over 62,000 miles on them to make sure they were tough. Some were even exposed to the elements, and yes, rumors say unusual methods were used to harden them. The result was an engine that could withstand insane turbo pressure, while spitting out mind-bending power with every twist of the throttle. Drivers had to have nerves of steel, especially with the lag from the turbo in qualifying mode, because one misstep could send all that energy spinning wildly. The M12/13 didn't just make horsepower, it made history. It powered the Brabham BT 52 to the 1983 Formula One Drivers' Championship, marking the first time a turbocharged engine won the title. Its dominance in the mid-1980s made every rival rethink what a small engine could do, proving that with clever design, lightweight construction, and extreme boost, a tiny four-cylinder could hum with enough fury to challenge the world's fastest cars. Number 5. Chrysler 426 Hemi. The Chrysler 426 Hemi, a V8 engine so powerful it made rivals look like they were standing still. With 426 cubic inches of fury, this engine could churn out 425 horsepower and 490 pound-feet of torque. In its street-legal version and the racing version, well, that one laughed at limits and crushed everything in its path. In the Daytona 500 of 1964, the Hemi-powered cars swept the top 4 positions, leaving competitors scratching their heads and NASCAR rewriting the rulebook. Moving forward, the 426 Hemi became famous for its hemispherical heads. The Hemi shape allowed air and fuel to burn more completely, sending more energy to the wheels. Spark plugs sat right in the center of the chamber, making explosions faster and stronger. With 2 big valves per cylinder, working like synchronized athletes, the engine could breathe better than almost any other V8 of the era. Sure, the heads were big and complicated, but that was the price of glory. Every curve of the cylinder, every dome of the piston, was designed to squeeze every last bit of power from each explosion, turning gas into thunder on the track. On top of that, NASCAR and NHRA tracks saw the 426 Hemi dominate, forcing rivals to catch up or give up. The racing Hemi was so extreme that Chrysler had to make a street version to stay eligible in NASCAR. And when they did, it became a legend on the streets too. Engineers tamed it with iron heads instead of aluminum, reduced compression for daily driving, and softened the camshaft, but it still roared like a dragon with every press of the pedal. Cars like the Dodge Charger, Plymouth Belvedere, and Dodge Coronet became rolling testimonies to this motor's incredible capabilities. The fun didn't stop at numbers and trophies. The Hemi's hemispherical combustion chambers were like a science experiment made for speed. Fuel mixed perfectly, flames spread fast, and power shot out of the exhaust with attitude. It was wide, heavy, and complicated, sure, but that complexity translated directly to dominance. Number 4. Ferrari Colombo V12. The Ferrari Colombo V12 exploded onto the racing world with the kind of sound and fury that made engines with fewer cylinders sound like toys. From the very first car in 1947, this engine showed it was built for speed, handling, and pure driving joy. With 12 cylinders arranged at a perfect 60-degree angle, it delivered power in a smooth, endless twist instead of choppy bursts, making every gear shift feel like a symphony in motion. Early versions started at just 92 cubic inch, but even then, the tiny motor made racing hearts beat faster, powering cars to victories on twisty circuits and endurance races alike. Moving deeper into its brilliance, the Colombo V12 used aluminum block and head castings, making it strong but light. That meant less weight up front, improving handling and cornering, while still delivering reliable performance lap after lap. The crankshaft was machined from a single piece of alloy steel, connecting rods forged from steel, and the cylinder heads used innovative hairpin valve springs instead of spiral ones. These details allowed the engine to breathe easier and rev higher, sending fire through the tailpipes and music into the ears of anyone lucky enough to drive or hear it. Even as it grew from 92 cubic inch to nearly 302 cubic inch over its decades of development, the engine kept its magic. Its over-square bore and short-stroke reduced piston travel, keeping the engine compact while improving the car's balance. The large bores let in bigger valves for more air and fuel, boosting volumetric efficiency. Every change was made to push power, control weight, and create that unmistakable Ferrari sound that makes heads turn, even when the car is parked. The Colombo V12 proved its worth in some of the most iconic Ferraris ever made. Cars like the 2057 250 Testarossa, the 250 GT California Spider, the 250 GT SWB, the legendary 250 GTO, and even the mid-engined 250 LM all carried this engine under their hoods. From open-wheel racers to luxurious grand tourers, it offered incredible versatility. With power growing from a modest 100 horsepower in its earliest form to nearly 400 horsepower in its largest iteration, the engine could push cars to thrilling speeds that made tracks feel alive. The magic wasn't just numbers, though. The sound of a Colombo V12 revving past 5,000 revolutions per minute is unforgettable. A complex wail that shifts from a roar to a symphony, daring drivers to drop a gear, push the throttle, and feel pure exhilaration. The engine was alive, encouraging drivers to explore its limits, all while delivering the balance, toughness, and responsiveness that made it one of the best engines for racing cars ever created. Number 3, Cosworth DFV. The Cosworth DFV exploded onto the Formula One scene like lightning striking a racetrack, instantly proving it was a game-changer. With 183 cubic inch of V8 fury, designed to be part of the car's structure, the DFV shaved weight while adding unstoppable power, letting cars reach top speeds that made competitors dizzy. In its first year, it debuted in 1967 and quickly showed everyone that it wasn't just fast. It was revolutionary. By 1968, it dominated the grid, and from then until the early 1980s, it stacked wins in Formula One, Le Mans, and the Indy 500, setting records no other engine could touch. Moving on to what makes it so smart, the DFV used 4 valves per cylinder, allowing more air and fuel to burn efficiently. This meant higher revs, faster acceleration, and more power without breaking a sweat. A flat-plane crankshaft helped it spin freely, giving top-end power that turned racetracks into blur zones. It sacrificed a bit of low-end grunt, but that only made it perfect for screaming down straights at speeds approaching 200 miles per hour. Lightweight parts reduced stress on moving pieces, meaning it could run hard, lap after lap, without faltering, making drivers feel like they were strapped to a rocket with tires. Switching gears to design, the DFV was part of the car's skeleton, so the suspension bolted directly onto it. This clever trick removed the need for heavy frames, letting the whole car be lighter, smaller, and easier to handle. Its compact 90-degree V8 layout fit perfectly in tight chassis, giving engineers room to work magic with aerodynamics. While other engines like Ferrari's Flathead struggled to fit in cars without adding weight, the DFV could slide in neatly and still make top speed. Its first races weren't perfect. Mechanical gremlins like cam gear failures tried to spoil the party at Zandvoort, but the DFV quickly learned and adapted. By the end of 1968, it powered almost every car on the grid, claiming nearly all wins and earning a reputation as unstoppable. It kept performing brilliantly in Le Mans, Indy cars, and multiple world championships, showing that this engine could win everywhere. The DFV's mix of lightweight design, clever engineering, 4-valve airflow, and structural brilliance made it a legend in racing circles. Number 2, Flathead V8. Engines that make cars fly are the reason racing is so exciting, and few engines change the game, like the Flathead V8. From the moment it started running, people noticed something special. It had a way of moving cars fast, smooth, and strong, giving racers a big smile while leaving other engines scratching their heads. The magic began with the way it was built. Its cylinder head was flat, making the engine easier to cool and simpler to fix. Racers loved this because tuning it for more speed was not a nightmare. You could take it apart, tweak it, and put it back together without pulling your hair out. The Flathead V8 could push cars to speeds that made the wind feel like it had wings. And back in its prime, it helped drivers set records on straightaways that left other engines eating dust. Its sound was also unforgettable, a deep and powerful voice that made fans cheer and drivers grin. Speaking of performance, the Flathead V8 shone bright because it was reliable. Many early race engines would overheat or break during long runs, but this engine kept going like it had a secret battery that never ran out. Its simple mechanics meant fewer things could go wrong, which is a huge advantage when every second counts. Racers could focus on driving faster instead of fixing the engine mid-race. Some modified versions even reached speeds over 100 miles per hour, which in those days was blisteringly fast. Another trick that made this engine great was how easy it was to modify. Drivers and mechanics could add more fuel, change pistons, or adjust valves to squeeze out extra power. People built small, lightweight race cars around the V8, creating machines that were quick, nimble, and perfect for short tracks. Even in tiny cars, the engine made them feel like rockets on wheels. It became the heart of the hot rod culture, with kids and grown-ups alike learning how to tune it, push it, and race it. The Flathead V8 also traveled the world. Cars in Britain, France, Germany, and the United States all used it, sometimes in different shapes and sizes, but the engine's spirit never changed. In Europe, it fit smaller cars, helping them go fast without needing huge wheels or enormous bodies. In the United States, it gave drivers a taste of real speed, often leaving other cars struggling to keep up. Its little sibling, the V860, was smaller, but still managed 60 horsepower, proving that even a smaller engine could be mighty on the track. Number 1. Ford 427 Big Block. The Ford 427 Big Block. From the moment it spun its first crankshaft, it proved it was built for speed, strength, and relentless power. With 427 cubic inch of displacement, 12 cylinders of fury, and a 12.5-to-1 compression ratio, this engine delivered smooth, unstoppable force that made every car it powered fly down straights and scream through corners. Its reputation wasn't just talk. The Ford GT40, Shelby Cobra, and Fairlane Thunderbolt carried this motor into victories that left competitors scrambling to catch up. Shifting focus to engineering, the 427 featured a thick iron block made from high-nickel alloy, crankshaft crossbolts, solid lifters, and forged components designed to survive repeated punishment. The side oiler version sent oil straight to the crankshaft before the valve train, keeping bearings happy even under the most brutal racing conditions. On the street, it produced 410 to 425 horsepower with dual quad carburetors. But on the track, it was easy to crank that number past 500 horsepower with proper heads and intake manifolds. This meant it could hit speeds that made competitors blink, leaving nothing but tire smoke and admiration in its wake. Now let's exotic technology. Ford created the overhead cam cammer version, an innovation so radical, it combined side oiling with single overhead camshafts, driven by a 7-foot-long roller chain and hemispherical combustion chambers. This design pushed output to 616 horsepower and 515 pound-feet of torque, creating a power explosion that drag racers drooled over. Though NASCAR banned it from oval racing, it dominated quarter-mile strips and powered funny cars to as much as 2,500 horsepower when tuned with forced induction and nitromethane fuel. The 427 versatility made it a legend. It conquered Le Mans in the GT40 in 1966, proving American engineering could beat Ferrari on its home turf. Meanwhile, Shelby Cobras and Ford Fairlanes felt the side oilers punch, carving through tracks with perfect balance, excellent weight distribution, and unstoppable torque. Even when it came to the street, the 427 impressed. Cars equipped with it could accelerate faster than most drivers could blink, making freeways feel like racetracks. With dual quad carburetors, or a single carb option, it offered thrilling power and torque that made every drive a heart-pounding adventure. Which engine do you think rules the track? Comment your thoughts below, smash that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more racing power stories.